Morning folks, Des Catties. In this video what I want to do is I want to just after the last video that I did on rations and stuff like that, people were quite getting some nice comments off people, especially with me putting my own personal touch and from my own experiences. What I want to do is talk about first aid kits. This isn't a lesson in first aid, this isn't a lesson in how to treat cuts and everything else, because there's 1001 videos out there that will tell you how to do all that or go on a course. But what I want to do is I want to talk about the different contents that people have in their first aid kits, and what I've had from my own experience over the years, in all the years that I've been playing the outdoors and bushcraft and all that sort of stuff. I just want to share with you some of my own experiences of different gear that I pack inside my first aid kits and so on. Alright, so stay tuned. Right, so here goes. Okay, now first aid is quite a, I honestly think that within the sort of, you know, within the community of say preppers, within the community of bushcrafters and that sort of thing, I almost think sometimes that first aid almost takes a back seat in everything. It's a bit of a shame really. A little bit like hygiene as well. I don't think many people cover hygiene too much, but I think it's very important that we have a sensible first aid kit, and also to give it some real thought into the stuff that you actually use when you actually are out in the woods, if you're out in the mountains and that sort of thing. A first aid kit really is like house insurance, isn't it? You know, you have to have it just in case. All right, it's, you know, same as having, you know, like I just said there, having house insurance. But I think I've got a series of kits here now. Well, all in different containers, you know, you've got tins and all that sort of stuff. You know, I've got a big one here that I got given from Alan, which now lives in my car. This one is a mountain emergency survival pack, emergency pack by Life Systems. I used to use this one hell of a lot when I was doing my mountain leader stuff, because obviously I was looking after a group of people. And then it obviously dwindles down then to, I'd say that this is probably one of the main kits that I use that lives in my rucksack, so I literally transfer it from rucksack to rucksack. And then one of the other little individual ones I might use is this one, is like this little pouch here from Helikon Tex. Now when you look at first aid pouches, normally the first aid pouch, you get a pouch, you open it and it's covered in, you know, let's take this one for example, and I'm not dissing it, but you open the bag up, you know, and there's tons of little bits of, there's little mesh pockets, there's the, you know, there's these you know, these green elastic bits and everything else to house stuff and all the rest of it, and that's fine. That's great. That's good, because it allows you to keep everything tidy, and it allows you obviously in that situation, if there becomes an emergency, the person that you are dealing with, whether it is a casualty or yourself, okay, you are going to have the early stages of shock. So, you know, you might start thinking a little bit, you know, your way of thinking might go a little bit skew if you start flapping a little bit. So obviously having everything organised in these little, you know, elasticated bits, having these little compartments and everything all over these first aid packs is good, because then obviously it's a bit like an acronym. You can then at least, you know, when your mind's going a little bit over the place, you can find exactly what you want from there. All right. Now, this is a great kit that I was given by my mate Alan, and as I say, that will live in my car. I'm not going to go through all the stuff that's in there, but what I want to sort of talk about as well is what stuff you actually use when you're out doing bushcraft, outdoor activities, and so on and such like. Now, for me personally, I always say, if someone's doing knife safety, if I'm doing knife safety to a group of people, whether it's adults or children, all right, if I'm going to pick up my knife, the first thing I'm going to do is pick up a first aid kit, all right? Or the least thing I'm going to pick up is a roll of insulating tape or a roll of duct tape, which was somewhere on this table. Okay, so I'll always grab something. Now, normally when I go and collect wood and stuff like that from fallen trees and stuff like that, I normally take a rucksack. I'll stick a saw in there, and then the one other thing I'll grab is either a roll of duct tape or a roll of insulating tape, because I'm probably, you know, all right, we can put, as you know, there's tons and tons of variables that we could put in now, and we can overthink it, but really I'd probably say that the most thing that might happen to me is either I'm going to get a cut, or maybe a splinter, might even get a branch hit me in the eye. You know, how far, you know, can you get what I'm saying? I'm sort of like, how far do you go with a first aid kit? You know, if we really think about it, a first aid kit really could take up your whole rucksack. We could, you know, if you were to sort of think of all the variables out there in the environment that you're going to be in, all right, really, you know, let's hope that when you take your first aid kit out with you, you're not going to use any of it. You don't want any injuries. You need to try and be a little bit proactive. Try and be a little bit proactive in your way of thinking, and when you're doing all your activities, like with knife use, for example, you're always thinking about the follow through, where your hands are, where your fingers are, where the tip of the blade is in relation to each other, and so on and so forth. And it's a little bit like pretty much everything that you do in the outdoors. You have to be a little bit proactive to avoid accidents, injuries and stuff like that. Now for me personally, if I think of all the years that I've been out, you know, doing bushcraft, you know, leading people up in the hills and all the rest of it, I've had, it's probably quite limited into some of the injuries that I've had. I see from, you know, a lot of people will show you in books and stuff like they carry a lot of different splints and stuff like that. I'm not saying no, it's not a bad thing to carry, all right, but personally, touch wood, I've never had to use a splint. With other things like even eye washes and stuff like that, I've never had to use an eye wash. All right, if I do get something in my eye, normally what I'll do is just open a water bottle and tip some water in my eye and try and get rid of the debris that way if I've got something in my eye. I would carry a mirror, or, you know, as a last resort, you can look at your phone and use the photo, you know, and use the photo as if you're going to take a selfie, turn it around, point it in your eye and remove whatever's in your eye, or if you've got a scratch on your face and so on and so forth. Even listening to Mors Kahansky, bless him, when he was alive, and in all the years that even when he was teaching, you know, bushcraft and outdoor activities and stuff like that, he was extremely limited to, you know, thinking of all the people that have gone through his courses and everything else, even he the same didn't have, you know, as many injuries or stuff like that as what you may come to think or to make that assumption. Now, it does make sense to maybe have a safety pin, maybe have a pack of safety pins, because if there's one thing you do get when you're out, these splinters. I know when I normally come home using wood and all the rest of it, you know, I'll have a shower, sit down, start inspecting my hands and everything else, and then notice that I've got all little slivers and everything else, stuff that I've not been able to even find or even feel in my hands, and then I'll grab a safety pin and I'll start picking all those little splinters out. Not always, but sometimes. So as usual with this video, like because I'm just literally smashing them together, there's no real kind of routine of what I'm doing. I'm really just kind of sharing some of my knowledge, personal experience with you folks. And it seems to obviously work. Hello Rose, you alright girl? So now when I was leading groups into the hills, I would carry a first aid kit like this because it's quite a bulky mass. Especially when I was leading young people, what would happen is, if anyone's ever done, you know, had that experience of doing so, a leader's pack can be quite heavy because you're not only having to look after yourself, you're obviously, you know, having to look after a group of individuals. Yes, they will have first aid kits and everything else on them, but normally, in my situation, if I've ever had to, which, you know, I can count on one finger really, the amount of times I've had to deal with people in the hills, within my own party, I would always go for my own first aid kit because I knew what was in it, and I knew how to use it. Now, again, some people will have tourniquets, they will have all this different, you know, high-tech stuff, and they've never had any experience in using a tourniquet. I haven't had any experience in using a tourniquet. Do I carry a tourniquet? No, I don't. I talk to my daughter about it. She's a paramedic, and I do talk to her about it. And I need to obviously update my own first aid. I could do with updating my own first aid experience. But if I do take this kit as an example, now one situation that I had with to give you an idea with groups in the hills. I had a young girl collapse on me in the hills. Well, I say young, she was an adult, collapsed in the hills, and that because she was on beta blockers, okay, and didn't know anything about that until she collapsed on the floor, passed out, and then someone divulged the information to me that she was actually on beta blockers. So that was quite an interesting one. I've also had it where, not in my group, but where I met a second group on top of a summit just in the south of Wales, and one of the girls with it, another girl within the group had. She basically went hyper because she hadn't eaten enough, because we'd had quite a hectic time out in the hills doing lots of training, and unfortunately she didn't keep on top of her calorific intake, and she started to go a bit hyper. So that just gives you an idea really. But in this particular kit, this is quite old now. It could do with, a lot of it could do with being replaced. Obviously I've got a whistle in now. I also keep tweezers. I normally used to keep two types of tweezers in here. I keep a normal set, okay, and then I've also got these set. Now this set is the ones that you would use for ticks and stuff like that. You can get the cards and all the rest of it, but I personally don't like them. I think these are best, and basically the idea is that you would see the arse of the tick inside your hand, you would push down it with the hook, with those two hooks that are on the end now, pinch it together, and then when you hear that popping sound, you pull it out, and then hopefully you've got rid of that tick that's in your that's in wherever it is on your person. So I always carried a pair of these, a pair of scissors. I've also got some other aggressive scissors that's in one of my other kits, and obviously quite good to use. Micropore tape. I've even still got in there a syringe. That basically, this syringe, I never used to use it for blisters or anything like that. A blister, if I had again, it's being a little bit proactive, whether it's breaking your footwear in, making sure that your socks are ideal, your feet are ideal, and all the rest of it. That is a bit of pre-planning and preparation. And then what I used to use this syringe for was when I used to take either my son or my daughter with me, and I used to pack some Calpol and stuff like that. If the kids were getting a little bit, whether it's a headache or a bit cold or whatever, then what I could do is basically put the sachet into there and then squeeze the juice into their mouth. Okay, so a great thing to have as well. Obviously it has other uses as well, to put water in it, to flush out injuries and stuff like that. I mean, if there's a great guy, the grey bearded Green Beret, if you've never checked him out on YouTube, go over and have a look. I believe he's one of kind of in with the community of Dave Canterbury with the Pathfinder School and all the rest of it, and he brings out some nice sort of first aid videos, which are quite good. So obviously go over there and have a look at them if you wish. Obviously I keep emergency blankets and stuff like that, plasters, and also what I've got in here is an emergency beacon, and this is absolutely excellent. Again, I've never had to use it. It's great. I've never had to use it. It's a Life Systems one. It came with the kit when I bought it. And basically this has got like a Velcro strap, so I could, attach it to maybe a rucksack, a stick, whatever. And then basically what you do is you turn it on and it would power up. I think the battery's actually gone in this, and it would power up and it would literally just emit a real bright light. So you could almost hear it charging up, and it blurts out this light, and then it would charge up again and blurt out this light. And again, it does, the battery needs replacing, and this was a good bit of kit to have in there, but I've never had to use it. It's just handy, obviously, to have in a kind of emergency situation, as it were, or if obviously you've got someone, if you're out in the dark and you're trying to obviously attract mountain rescue services or whatever, it's obviously a good thing to have. All right, yeah, you've got all the crack bandages and all that sort of stuff. Do you use them? Who knows? Triangular bandages might be good if people trip over, break arms, fracture wrists and all the rest of it. Then obviously it's great just to obviously elevate the arm, take a little bit of stress off the elbow, and so on and so forth. All right, even down to just having a packet of tissues. just having a packet of tissues. If, for example, you know, it happens, it's an occupational hazard that sometimes you might just cut your finger. It is what it is, okay? But even just having a packet of tissues, be able to take the tissues out. All right, take one tissue out, and at least with that blood, you know, you might not want to go rifling through your first aid kit immediately. At least you can then just put that tissue on there to potentially stem the flow of the bleeding, slow it down a little bit, just tide it up, because the last thing you want to do is get claret everywhere or blood, and you know, you'll just, you know, again, that's just another idea, a suggestion. You often see people, I have seen these YouTube videos where basically people have got them in tins. I mean, this was actually a first aid tin. It's actually got a red cross on it. There's nothing in there at the moment, because basically what I was using to keep in there was toggles for stuff that I sell on the X's dog. You've got another one like this, plastic lid, and again I've got a few bits and pieces in there. Got antiseptic wipes and stuff like that. Antiseptic wipes, I think, to me, in my mindset, will be one of the most things that I would carry in my first aid kit, simply being because our hands get dirty all the time. Even when we go for a, you know, we go for a WAS or we go and drop one out, you know, one of the things that we're potentially going to get out there is maybe something to do with, you know, maybe something to do with stomach upsets, or something like that. Okay, so, you know, again, you might want to then carry some anti-diarrhea tablets. You might want to carry some Diarrhelite if you're out there for a longer time, and it's not a, you know, it's not a really nice experience to kind of be you know, sort of cracking through the eye of a needle, or you got a bit of deli belly or something like that, and then you can't treat it. And if you're out there on your own and experiencing that, that's not a nice experience at all. I've had it where I've literally just been camping in a field with a massive group of people, and one day, one afternoon, I just come down with, don't know what happened, don't know exactly what happened, sickness and diarrhea, and then the next day I got up and I was fine. I've got no idea what it was, whether it was maybe a piece of uncooked bacon or whatever, no idea at all. All right, so again, all little food for thought and all the rest of it. Now, this first aid kit is the one that I tend, as I say, it's the one that I take out of me all the time. It's in one of old Fry's pouches, and what I tend to keep in here is ibuprofen. The reason why I keep ibuprofen is because I do, actually, if you do follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I am training. I do quite a lot of running. I pretty much run every day if I can, which obviously with that and my age, I'm nearly 52 now, obviously I do occasionally suffer with different you know, sort of like little joint issues or swellings in my feet and stuff like that. So obviously having some ibuprofen, because it's obviously anti-inflammatory, great to have with you. All right, I would also have, this is betadine. We don't get it here in the UK anymore. I think we can order it off Amazon. I took advantage and ordered some of this when I didn't order it actually, when I was out in Menorca a couple of years ago. I had to go to a chemist, and I bought a tube of betadine there. Now, this stuff was excellent. Many years ago, I was on a course in Sweden, a survival course, and again, you know, we obviously had a lack of kit and all that sort of stuff, and what happened was I was chopping up some pine, and pine can be sometimes a bit nasty, especially some of the little branches, and I had like a sliver off the branch, and it kind of stabbed me in the hand. And my first aid kit was plasters and stuff like that, but I noticed it was starting to get a little bit red, and it was stinging ever so slightly on my finger. And one of the guys that was on the course with me, his wife was a nurse, and he suggested some. He had some betadine, and basically I just, you know, kept, you know, every now and again I'd ask him if I could borrow some or use some, and I'll put just a tiny bit on my hand, and that really helped, kept the plaster, you know, obviously kept it covered. And this is a great bit of kit. I don't know why they sort of get rid of it and ban it. So leading on, I'll keep different lint bandages in now. Okay, again, they're great for just absorbents, okay, obviously for wrapping around your hands, fingers and all such like. So I do keep a number of them in now. There's one there that's open, but I don't mind. That's a waterproof pouch, but I'll still use that. Maybe now, obviously it's a little bit unsterile because it's obviously come out of the packet, which I could probably just put inside a vacuum sealed packet or something like that. I always carry either a micropore tape or just a plain tape like such as this, and the reason why I do it really is for I don't suffer with it too much, but in the past, over the years, I have had blisters and heat spots and everything else, and it's like being a little bit proactive. When you do feel in your feet that you are starting to get heat spots and everything else, deal with it straight away. Don't let it get to the point where you've got blisters and it starts to immobilise you. You're not on special forces selection or army selection or any sort of army selection where you're expected just to beast it through having blisters and everything else. As a civilian, the last thing you want is to be uncomfortable. All right, so I carry tape. I have a micropore tape. I like micropore tape as well because it's quite soluble. When you take it off, it obviously comes off a lot easier than it would be using a roll of Gorilla Tape or duct tape. These are all antiseptic wipes and everything else in there. Okay, I keep some sterile dressings of different sizes. Okay, massive pack of plasters of all various sizes. Okay. I've also got a pair of tweezers in there. These are just the normal sort of, for taking splinters out and stuff like that. I keep a set of those in there as well. This is a Resusci face shield, obviously for putting out if someone becomes unconscious. Christ almighty, you hope that never happens. And then obviously face shield to obviously prevent, them spitting and spitting blood or sick or any other sort of debris into your face. Obviously a good thing to have. Packet of needles. Safety pins even, not needles. And then finally what I've got in here is just a little Leatherman pair of scissors. This was actually gifted to me by an old friend, Mark Lawrence, Kung Fu Mark. Hi Mark, hope you're alright geezer, enjoying your retirement if you get this far into the video. And Mark gave me this as a little gift when he left a company that we worked at together. And again, it's got a pair of tweezers on there and a few other bits and pieces, but mainly I use it just for the scissors if I need to. Alright, so folks, there it is. There's nothing hard and fast about it. It's probably quite a long video, I reckon, of me just babbling on about first aid kits, but do give it some thought. It's very easy for people to pack this and this into a first aid kit and never use any of it. But then again, there's the flip side of the coin where potentially, like we say, it's almost like house insurance and you kind of need it. But there's obviously a little bit of, sort of maybe if you're looking at trying to keep your first aid kits compact to a certain size rather than the size of a rucksack, you're not Dr. Kildare, or maybe some of you are Dr. Kildares out there. Even my daughter, I sometimes do ask her questions, about medical stuff and stuff like that. But, it's... whatever you do, whatever you choose to do, obviously give it some thought, and I'll see how it goes. Alright, so there it is folks. Alright, thanks for watching. Alright, please leave your comments below. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please do so. If you want to buy me a coffee, you can. I've had a few people now bought me a coffee. I'm just so grateful for it. I'll be even more happy if people just bought stuff off the Etsy store, I think, because it obviously helps everyone all round. Even more so. Alright, so you get something in return, but maybe you'll obviously enjoy the video, so I'm grateful for that, humbly grateful. Alright, so thanks for watching folks, take care. Des Cat is signing out and I'll see you on the next video.